Hey folks. How's everybody doing tonight? Taylor, how are you?
Good.
We're coming to you a few nights before probably one of the greatest celebrations in the world, and that is Christmas. And we are going to be baking a cake. Now you're probably saying to yourselves, why are you giving us like a 2 or 3 day notice and you're going to be baking a cake? Well, this isn't necessarily a Christmas cake. This is actually a 12th night cake. Right, Taylor?
Yep.
And we've got all the ingredients put out here, but the reason it's called the 12th night cake is because in most traditions within people worldwide, globally, that celebrate Christmas, they celebrate the 12 nights of Christmas. Perhaps you recall the song, "On the 12th night of Christmas, my true love gave to me." All right, I won't sing. But you have 12 nights of Christmas. What it is it's also known as the Epiphany, or the appearing of Jesus on December 25th. And it culminates with the appearance of the Magi 12 days later, which is on January 6th. And that's when people celebrate the 12th night of Christmas. And that is the 12th night cake, and that's what we're going to be doing, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to talk a little bit about the cake, and we want to tell you about some of the ingredients, and then we're going to go ahead and bake it and get it ready. And Taylor, a quick question. You've been baking this cake for about 5 years or so, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a good deal of, ideas on how to do this. Why don't you just explain to us a few of the ingredients? What are we working with here?
Brandy.
How much brandy, being we don't have that laid out?
Half cup.
Half a cup. Okay, perfect.
And then candied orange peels and lemon peels.
Okay, stop for just 1 second. Tell me a little bit about the candied peels. How did we do that?
You take the zest off of the orange and lemons or whatever citrus, and then you boil it again and again,
Okay.
keep rinsing, and then boil it in sugar, and they're candied.
Perfect. Excellent. All right, that's good to know. And then what else do we have up front here?
Slivered almonds.
How
about a
much?
cup,
1 cup?
and then some cane sugar, eggs, some currants, which are like little raisins.
And it's about a pound of currants. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we've also got flour here as well. Flour-wise, how much flour are we using?
About 2 cups.
About 2 cups of flour. Now, there's only 7 eggs there. There's actually 8. I tried stacking the 8th one on there and it kept falling off. Didn't want to break it, so just so you know, there's 8 eggs. And we also separate the eggs, correct? Mm-hmm. The yolks, okay? Perfect. And then we've got how much butter here?
1 pound.
1 pound of butter, so there's a lot of butter. Now, we're gonna show you how we mix all these ingredients together in just a moment, but we want to talk a little bit about something right in front of me, just over to my left or your right. As some of you may or may not know, I recently published a brand new book, and it's on 10 individuals from the Revolutionary War. And it sort of coincides with what we're talking about here, because the 12th night cake started around, I'm going to say, about the 16th century, but it became really popular in the 17th, 18th centuries, about the time of these events that I talk about in my book. But I discussed 10 specific individuals from the Revolutionary War and their lives, and sort of what happened in the last days of their lives. Now, I've created a little website where you can actually order the book from, and if you do it right now, Taylor even went to great lengths to specially wrap it in 18th century style. Her idea, I can't take any credit for this. It even has a little wax seal on it, and there's a nice little letter tucked inside of it, and it's personalized to you. But you can visit my website. I'll have a link on that in the comments section, but it comes in 2 different formats. There's a hardcover, which I just actually received, and then there's also the paperback. So if you go with the hardcover format, it's beautiful white pages, full colored pictures, absolutely beautiful. And it's not to diminish the quality of the paperback either, because that's on beautiful cream paper. And it's a wonderful book. I know you'll absolutely love it. So I don't want to digress and talk about myself and my book. We want to talk to you about the 12th night cake. So we're going to be back in a few minutes, and we're going to start mixing everything up. Stay put. Okay, we are back, and what we've actually done here is a couple things, and I'm going to have Taylor explain to you what she just did.
We separated the eggs into 2 separate bowls, the yolks in one and the whites in the other.
Why do we do that?
Because they whip up better together separately, and they're both a leavening agent because we're not using a chemical one like baking powder.
Oh, interesting. All right, I didn't know that. As far as like how we blend those up, is it you just use a beater and start doing
Yeah.
it, or?
You just use a beater or whisk, and it takes a few minutes.
You can tell I've spent a lot of time in the kitchen. So what we're gonna do now, so what would be the next step after that, Taylor? After we mix those up, then what are we gonna do?
We're gonna cream the butter for 3 minutes, and then after that we'll slowly start adding the sugar, and it should take about 2 or 3 more minutes.
Is there any reason why you cream the butter and add the sugar? Does it do anything special, or does it just give it better flavor, taste? What?
Adds more air.
Adds more air to it, okay, and that's
The cake's
important?
lighter. Yeah.
Oh,
not
so it's
dense
lighter,
like a
okay.
little brick.
This is a very heavy cake too, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why we whip the butter, whip the eggs, add the eggs.
This cake is extremely dense. If you go back and look at any older portraits of this cake, you're gonna see that it's just massive. The one that we're actually making here, I think when it's all said and done, probably comes in at around 5 pounds. I mean, it's
Oh, at least.
you could hurt somebody with this cake if you threw it at them. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do what Taylor just said. We're gonna mix some of this stuff up, get it going, and then as we start gathering everything together, we're gonna pick back up right there. So we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so we are back from mixing the butter and the sugar, and I don't know if you can see this, but it is extremely fluffy. If we had to do that without our electronics, Taylor, what sort of time frame are we looking at?
A really long time. I've done it before.
You have?
Yes.
You are a very brave and strong girl. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do a little bit more mixing, but what are we gonna be mixing at this point?
The almonds, currants, candied orange peels,
Okay.
and the brandy.
Okay, so we're gonna mix all 3 of those, or all 4 of those together. What are the currants? Are they just like little miniature raisins? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Well, let's do that real quick. Let's go ahead and start adding some of these ingredients into it. I can do the currants if you'll give me the honor. Get that in there. Got those. Got the almonds. Perfect. And we're gonna mix the brandy in with it right away, or are you gonna kind of hand mix that stuff?
Yeah, we'll mix it all together with the brandy.
We will, okay, all right, perfect. Well, let's do that. Oh, there is one thing that I did forget to mention a little bit earlier. We've got so many ingredients out here that it sort of eluded me, and it's kind of small, but it's the nutmeg, and this is a very important ingredient. I think we're gonna be using about, what, 3/4 of a teaspoon for this, okay? So we'll also be adding that in momentarily as well. But we're gonna go ahead and get these mixed up, and then as soon as we come back, we'll go to the next step of the process. All right, I'm just gonna stand by and watch as Taylor gets this mixed up, and we are gonna be adding the brandy as well, correct?
Yes.
All right,
Half a cup.
perfect, half a cup of that. So Taylor, how long have you been baking?
A long time. Probably half my life.
I would say probably more than that. I have videos of you as about a 3 or 4-year-old in the kitchen cracking eggs, trying to bake stuff back then. So yeah, you've been in this business for quite some time. You've gotten pretty good at it too, haven't you?
I like to think so.
I think so as well. You're so humble, Taylor. So we're gonna be, so when we start baking this, what is the temperature that we'll be baking it at, and for how long?
350, and this is a very large cake. It takes a long time, at least an hour.
Okay, and we'll show everybody how we put it into the container. If you, ooh, I can smell that brandy. Woo, that's powerful. That's everybody will be all right if they eat this cake. It's not over 21 cake, is it?
Nope.
Okay, good to hear.
Most of the alcohol bakes out.
And
Most of the flavor.
now I want to stop for just a moment here too, because you're pregnant. Is it okay if you participate in eating of the cake?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For how long it bakes, it's past the boiling point of alcohol, so.
So it has no effect on you?
No.
Perfect.
It's the same as if you were to use a bunch of vanilla.
Okay, well, I want to circle back to this whole baby thing, Taylor. How far along are you exactly?
About 6 months.
6 months. Do we know the gender? Do we want to reveal anything, or is this kind of a people have to wait to see?
We did find out the gender. It's a boy.
It's a boy. Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Thank you.
You must be so happy. I am.
We're very happy.
Yes, because I've been surrounded by women almost my entire life, at least with our immediate family. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually, there is one other boy in the family, little Bruce. But that's it. This is going to be the second boy in the family, so that's pretty cool.
The first great-grandson.
First great-grandson. Wow. We're not going to reveal any names. I'm sure you've chosen one, right?
We think so.
Taylor, I think you're done mixing too.
Yep.
Okay, should we move on? All right, let's do that. Okay, so what do we have going on now? I was watching you while we took that little break from a moment or two ago here, whip those eggs up. I mean, the texture of it went from just regular egg yolks into almost like a cream. What happens?
The fat in the egg yolks is like an emulsifier, but when you start beating it, air gets trapped in like the fat, so
Wow.
it just holds the bubbles.
It's pretty cool, pretty cool. What's our next step?
We're going to mix the flour and nutmeg together.
Okay.
We're gonna put a little bit into the like nut currant brandy mixture just to soak up some of the brandy.
Oh, okay.
And then we're going to fold the egg yolks into the butter. And then after that, we'll start whipping the egg whites.
Perfect. All right, let's do it. Let's start mixing this stuff together. So we were talking a little bit earlier too, Taylor. I said, you know, that the Epiphany or the 12 nights of Christmas culminates with the arrival of the Magi or the wise men. Do we know how many of them there were? Maybe our audience knows.
Do we?
Do you know? We don't know. Oh, wow, you are on it. Yeah, you're right, actually, we don't know. I mean, it's just speculated by people based on the New Testament data that we have, because there were 3 gifts, that there were 3 wise men, but that's simply something that people impose onto the text. We don't know exactly how many of them there were. Do we know where they came from?
Where?
Oh, they came from the east. We're assuming the land of Babylon. And the reason we kind of, you know, a person might actually wonder, why would these people from Babylon travel all the way to Israel to see this child, unless they had some type of information that led them to believe that, you know, something spectacular was going to happen. Well, it just so happens that in 571, I think it was around in August, 571 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar invaded the land of Israel, and when they did that, they took a lot of the wise men, the athletic, the intelligent people back to the land of Babylon. Now, after King Cyrus took over reign, basically what happened is he produced this edict that allowed the people of Israel to travel back to their homeland. Now, of course, you got to remember by this time it had been 40 years, and you've got a whole generation of people that had been born. So one might ask themselves, why would someone that has been born and raised in Babylon go back to the land of Israel, unless you were really, you know, you really wanted to go back to that land? But a lot of the people actually stayed there. So what scholars and people think probably happened was some of these individuals that stayed in the land of Babylon had Israeli or Hebrew roots, and they had a very good knowledge of the Bible, and prophetically they understood that a Messiah was going to be born, and there was a sign that actually prompted them to come to the land of Israel. Do you know what it was? The Star of Bethlehem. Actually, nobody really knows what it is. It could have been a planetary conjunction, it could have been a comet, it could have been a number of things, but nonetheless, it actually triggered these men to pack their bags and travel over to Israel. But it's just kind of a spectacular little thing, that just a little historical piece of information. I actually talk a little bit about that in my book, on my chapter on Thomas Jefferson, when I was discussing a little bit of slavery and some of the stuff that took place there. I also think that when I mentioned my website about the book a little bit earlier, ooh, that nutmeg smells really good.
It does.
I had ordered pretty large amount of books, and they all sold out quickly, which is huge. It's great, and I thank you so much for everybody that ordered. But the website's actually going to be up and running until January 5th, so I went ahead and I ordered another quantity of books, both the hardcover and the paperback. Like I said, they're going to be personalized and wrapped like this. So if you want to, you can visit my website. Again, like I said previously, I'm going to have in the comments sections a link to that website that you can visit that. And if you'd like to place an order, it should be arriving somewhere in late January with the second shipment of books that would be going out. So Taylor, I didn't mean to digress. What's been going on here?
I had just folded the egg yolks into the butter mixture, and then I measured out the flour, 3 cups, and the nutmeg, put in here, put a little bit in to the brandy currant mixture.
Wow,
so
show the camera this, look at that. I am getting such an abundance of flavors and smells and scents, it's almost overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? I can smell the brandy, I can smell the nutmeg, the currants, everything is just sort of coming through. And it's, Taylor, how good is this cake?
It's really good.
It's
Very
really good.
Christmassy.
How often, now, let me just talk a little bit about something else here. You may or may not know that I do not eat any gluten or dairy or eggs, with one exception, right?
12th Night Cake.
12th Night Cake. Once a year, I like to indulge in the 12th Night Cake, and Taylor makes it so good, and you can make it good as well. I mean, really, you just follow these steps, and you should be good to go, right? Mm-hmm. Just is, I mean,
It's easy.
yeah, it's not that difficult. I wouldn't try to do it, but you know, yeah, I think everybody else would be okay. And that's exactly why Taylor is doing this, because she does it right and properly, and she does a really good job. So what is our next step?
We're going to whip the egg whites until they're fluffy, and then fold it in here, and then we're just gonna mix these in.
Perfect, let's do that. We'll be back in a couple minutes, and we'll start putting this together. So we've got 3 different bowls here, Taylor. What's our next step?
To fold the egg whites into...
Holy smokes, hold on a second. Those are egg whites, folks. I don't know about you, but that looks creamy and good. Sorry.
Yeah, so we just fold these into here.
Okay.
And then once it's almost mixed in, we're gonna put those in.
So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. We're mixing everything together. Then we're going to place it in the oven. And you said we set it at what, 350? Mm-hmm. And we're doing that for how long? Was it a couple hours, you said?
Yeah, at least an hour.
Okay.
At probably 45, 50 minutes, I'll check.
Okay. And if you folks want to have some real fun with this, what could they put into the cake, Taylor?
A silver coin.
A silver coin. If you believe in luck, whoever finds the silver coin is said to have good luck for 1 year. Yeah. Do we believe in luck? Sure. No, not really. Oh, Taylor, that looks so good. What's my other food that I crave? It's like a total opposite of the 12th Night Cake, but what other little snack do I crave that I might have once a year? We were talking about it the other night. Gummy bears.
That's funny, I was talking about that yesterday.
You were?
5-pound bag.
Oh.
The Albanese.
Back in the day, I used to throw down, and my go-to snack was gummy bears. I don't know why. I really, you know, like I said, I don't do any dairy or gluten, wheat, anything like that. And I really honestly don't ever crave any of that stuff, with the one exception of gummy bears, but they don't have dairy or gluten in them anyways.
Nope.
So I guess they could be free game. Oof, that brandy's coming through strong.
Yeah.
You sure that's gonna cook out?
Yep.
All right, good to know. But the gummy bears, like no pun intended, I have a soft spot for those. They're so good.
They really are.
Yeah, they are. And what was that brand that you said? It's the brand we used to get.
Albanese.
Albanese, yeah. We used to buy those. They used to sell them in bulk.
Yep.
I remember buying some bags of those. Yeah, no, back in the days when I was younger, I could eat what I want. not be affected by it, but these days, I'm getting a little bit older, Taylor, I can't tolerate that stuff quite as well, can I?
No, that's what grandkids are for.
I know, it is. I live vicariously through my children and soon-to-be grandkids because every time I'm craving candy or something, I buy it, and then I tell them to eat it, and they do. It's never a problem. But I was thinking about another, actually, man, I said there was only the gummy bears. I lied. There's one more. Butterfinger Blizzard.
Oh, yeah.
They're the bomb. I remember the first one I had, I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. And my dad, your grandpa, he's like, get any Blizzard you want. And I ordered a large, and that thing was like that big.
They're huge.
I scarfed down as much of it as I possibly could. I loved it, but I felt as sick as a dog afterwards because it was so much. I ended up not even being able to finish it. So what's going on here, Taylor? It looks like you're almost ready to go.
So this is what it looks like when it's all mixed, and then we'll just put it in our pan.
Okay, so hold on. What are we gonna do with our pan? Where is it? Let's show the folks what we're doing here, because we sort of, that is a
Angel food cake pan.
angel food cake pan that we're using. You could use really anything that mimics that, right, Taylor? Does it need a bottom?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It just has to have high sides and be wide enough.
Okay. Now, do we need to put like any butter or anything on the inside of the parchment to?
You shouldn't have to with the parchment paper. I haven't ever had it stick.
Okay.
But you could butter it.
Okay. Now, I did hear at one point in time that obviously, and this is going back to the 18th century, that when they used to bake these, they didn't have that. They would use like a little wooden cylinder.
Yeah, like a wood ring or...
Yeah, a wood ring. So what's the difference between the wood and something like this?
Well, wood doesn't conduct heat as well as metal does, so obviously it's going to take longer for it to bake, but it shouldn't get as dark around the edges.
Ooh, so you get that nice golden look.
Yep.
That's something else.
Be lighter in color.
Well, that's something that people need to be cautious of as well, too, right? When they're baking this.
Yep. Yeah, you should, as soon as it's done, take it out of the oven. Otherwise, it might get overdone.
And we'll show them once we get to that part of the process. But right now, you're adding a little bit in, you're smoothing it out.
Yep.
Now, this is gonna rise as well, too, right?
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
Because we whipped all the eggs and the butter.
And it's not gonna, it won't overflow or anything like that,
Nope.
but.
Yeah, that's why we have the high sides and the parchment's higher than the rim, so
Okay.
we should be covered.
And it just, man, I obviously will show you the finished product when we're done here. But in the past, when you've made this, when that thing comes out, it almost comes to a nice little point. It sort of crests at the top, and it just looks, it looks so beautiful and so tasty. I'm telling you, I've explained this cake to people before a few times, and you're like, well, what is it, a fruit cake? Oh my goodness. It's far from a fruit cake, right, Taylor? Yeah, it's far from a fruit cake.
But I could see with like the fruit and nuts why they would think that, but...
Correct, because you're mixing so many different things in there, yeah. Way, way better. I mean, people used to give, you know, if you wanted to prank somebody at Christmas, you gave them a fruit cake.
Or a door stopper.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, when somebody's a little bit crazy, they're a fruit cake, yeah. All right, so let's, we've got the oven preheated. We're gonna put this in, and when we come back, we're gonna show you the finished product.